We're going to be boiling down maple syrup today. We've been collecting sap for about 2 weeks now. All said and done, we'll have about 40 gallons of sap, which will give us 1 gallon of maple syrup. You got to make sure you keep this sap cold because it can go rancid. You don't want to wait too long before you start boiling it down. It's got to stay cold. Collected wood from the forest to boil it down with. We'll get it started with the small stuff. Once it gets started, we'll use the bigger stuff. To keep the smoky flavor out of the syrup, you got to get a little creative. Right now, that smoke can go right into the syrup. We'll put this aluminum chimney on there, keep all that smoke out. It fits nice and tight. This is old aluminum flashing that we just pop riveted together. Now the smoke cannot get to the syrup. We'll get the fire build up until we've got a good rumbling boil. The pot we're using is from an old stainless steel ringer washer. It's 10 o'clock, fire's down a bit, we'll check it. Don't want to risk boiling out too much, so I'll pull out some of the wood. We're about halfway down, so we'll just get everything started tomorrow morning. Now everything's boiling out. The white that's coming out the top is the steam, and you can see that no smoke is going in there. We'll pull off the stack and look at the level. We'll keep the fire hot and bring all this up to a rumbling boil. We're at a full boil now. Just keep feeding the fire. It's been boiling all afternoon, and you can see it's down quite a bit in liquid. We just checked the sap buckets and everything's starting to slow down. The level's pretty low, so we'll just keep adding it in. It's 10 o'clock at night and it's still boiling. It seems like it's always boiling best at night because the fire is established. We'll pull out the chimney. Take a look. It's hard to see down there at the bottom. I'd say probably about halfway down. Use the stick to push down in there and see how far we are. We'll let this boil for about another hour or so and then pull the fire down. It snowed about 4 inches last night. We'll check it out. I cover it with this plywood to keep everything out. There's enough warm coals in there we may be able to just start it. Now we've got a nice fire so we can finish up boiling this maple syrup. We're getting pretty close to having everything boiled down. It's really easy to burn this stuff, so we're just going to keep an eye on it. It's looking like maple syrup right now. In fact, if you give it a taste, it's starting to taste like maple syrup. We're getting really close now. We'll even out the heat a little bit. You don't want the fire too hot. It'd be really easy to burn it, and that'd be really unfortunate. Keep the heat low and keep stirring it. You could finish it off on the stove inside, but while you got the heat, just take your time. You can see that looks really good. We're not far now. There's a lot of ways to know when you're done. I'd like to go just until it tastes really good. You don't want to go too far because if you put it in the refrigerator, it'll just sugar up. We'll pour it off the spoon and just take a look at it. Right now it's tasting really good. I'd say probably about 5 more minutes. Every once in a while you can see in there. Right there is a pretty good view of it. When it cools off, it's going to get a little thicker. All right, well, it's official. We're going to pull it off. We'll go ahead and pull off the fire. We'll pull it up out of there. Now we'll pour it in and we'll filter it. There we go. That looks really good. This is the rough filtering. Now we've got to fine filter it. We'll transfer some of this into a smaller container. We'll fine filter it. This is a reusable coffee filter. Now the syrup's got to be hot when you do this. If not, it does not filter well. This stuff smells so good. At the end, you'll have some of this gritty stuff. Roll that filter all the way around and get all that gritty stuff out of there. This is the carbony stuff that we got out. Now we can just wash it out. And we'll keep filtering. If you do let this cool down, it really does give you a lot of problems when you filter it. You can see at the bottom, that's all that gritty stuff. We'll filter as much as we can, then we'll pour it off into a bowl. Go ahead and put this into a bowl. We'll clean everything up. Now we're going to double filter it just to make sure we have everything. The second filtering, you can see we still caught quite a bit. And we'll filter it a third time. Now that filter's pretty clean. Now we'll fill up the jars. So we have a little bit more than a gallon of maple syrup, and each gallon takes about 40 gallons of maple sap to make. Sugar in this maple syrup is a lot of work, but it's worth it.